welcome to the Granite Zero podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me on. It's brilliant to see you.
Yeah, well, there's been always a bit of back and forth, and then it's always, as we said, it's always nice to actually put a face to the gorilla. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, thanks for giving me your time, and yeah, it's good to have a new guest on the show. It's been just me and my brother the last few weeks, so it's always nice to have someone else to talk to.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for asking me on. It's great. Thank you.
It's no problem. It's no problem. So a bit of background on yourself. So obviously you were Met Police.
Yes, yeah. I joined when I was 18 as a cadet. I had a year as a cadet, which was absolutely amazing. Fantastic experience. Yeah, adventure training, up mountains, canoeing, keeping fit. We did community service within London, different settings, and yeah, just brilliant. Really grew up and learnt a lot in that year. Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, awesome. What sort of guided you towards the Met Police or the police in general?
Oh,
Tricky
yeah,
question,
good
isn't it?
question. Yeah, good question. Yeah, so I grew up in a little tiny village in the Cotswolds, and had an amazing childhood. And I was very sporty. I think that's the thing. But it was kind of a toss up between like a PE teacher, that kind of road, or
I got you, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. It probably sounds a little naive now, but I just wanted to help people.
Yeah.
That is honestly, genuinely my sort of motivation. And I think it's my mum saw an advert in the Daily Express for cadets in the Met, and it kind of went. Oh, sorry. On cue, the doorbell and the dog.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no problem. Do you need to answer that?
No, it's fine. It's just a delivery. They've left it on the thing. Sorry.
Oh, okay,
Stop. She will stop in about an hour's time.
No,
Sorry.
He's all good. Lost your train of thought now, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's
yeah, and mum and dad were market gardeners. So my dad was the third generation market gardener. I think I'm gonna have to answer the door.
No
Sorry.
problem. I'll press pause. It's all good.
Sorry.
And she's back from delivery.
Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, mum and dad, they were market gardeners. Dad was the third generation market gardener in that village, and I think they could see the writing on the wall that little market gardeners like that wouldn't, continue in the future, and they sort of wanted something different for me and my brother, really. And yeah, so that was it. That was kind of, I applied, accepted, and yeah, so very, very different from my childhood joining the Met.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
Was it a small village in the Cotswolds, you said, was it?
Yeah,
like Hot Fuzz.
Tiny, lovely village. And actually, now I look back, I think it was having that kind of childhood, being very free, and like we were allowed to sort of have accidents, fall out of trees. I think it's that core in me has been really crucial to sort of coping through life with the things that life throws at us all, really.
Yeah, of course. So you gave up the beauty of the Cotswolds to go and play police officers in London.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'd make that same decision now.
Well, no, at the minute it's a completely different place, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It must have changed since obviously you were serving to what it's like now. It must have been. It just seems to have exploded. It's like a little melting pot at the minute of just angry people everywhere and gangs.
Yeah. Be in there, in amongst it now. I like the peace and quiet, and because I moved back to the Cotswolds, so I'm back sort of where I started. Yeah, full circle, and then gone back. Yeah, it's just I don't know why. There's so many complex issues, isn't there? But yeah, it does seem like a real melting pot. I agree with you.
And I feel bad for the officers that are serving at the minute, especially like they can't win. They're because they're there to obviously enforce the peace and not let things get out of hand. And then you get extremist right wing people going, well, I want to wave my St. George's cross and whatnot. And then you've got people protesting Palestine, and obviously, as we said, it's a hotbed and a melting pot at the minute, and the police officers are in the middle trying to keep the peace. And it's like, well, you're arresting him for doing this, you're not arresting them. It's like, Jesus Christ, give them a break. They can't do right from wrong.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, you know, I look back, although it was a fair few years ago now when I served. You know, I worked with some really good people. Of course, you get the odd one, but you get that in
you get that in any job. Yeah,
every job, don't you, Tommo? But really, you know, genuinely good people just trying to do a bit of good in the world, and it is. But I think it has become more difficult, hasn't it? For, you know, they are under the spotlight. You know, with there's cameras everywhere.
well, yeah, that's the thing as well. Everyone's got a camera. It's like,
yeah, and I think it's become quite political as well, and just a very difficult job to do.
Yeah, I've always said, because a lot of people ask me, what did I ever want to like transfer my skills that I had from the infantry into the police force and things like that. Once I left, and I was like, I don't think I could, because I don't quite have the restraint that the police officers do. Like, if someone was shouting in my face and pushing and shoving, I'd have a short temper anyway, and that wouldn't cross over with the police force. Definitely not. It's yeah. As much as I think I could calm down situations, I think if someone said the wrong thing to me, it would be, oh, you're in report again.
Yeah, you'd be in the doghouse.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because it definitely takes a lot of restraint. Is that something they sort of teach you on your sort of basic training sort of thing, that restraint level that you may need?
Yeah,
or is it a born gift?
I think I'd like to think it was a trait I personally inherited, like through my mum and dad, who were both sort of really good, simple, just calm people. Really, so I kind of got that kind of in me a bit, I think, to be quite, you know, relatively calm. But and then of course you're restrained within the law, aren't you, as well?
Yeah.
So you sort of, you know what you can and can't do. But yeah, I like to think I treated people, you know, with respect, really, when it, you know, and but you know, you have to be strong and tough as well. You know, you can't be weak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd like to think I was fairly calm.
Yeah, well, yeah, you should always be worried about the calmest person in the room, I was always taught.
Yeah.
Especially when, as you said, you have to be strong, not only physically but mentally, especially in the police force, I feel. Especially, well, 100% these days. And yeah, it's one of those where you can't really have that sort of woke culture creeping in, because you have to remain impartial, should I say, to anything else. It's quite a difficult thing to keep your beliefs away from the front line, you could say.
Yeah, totally. And just act with sort of impartiality and calm, and just try and deal with some really difficult situations. You know, all sorts of horrible things can happen, can't they? And yeah, so and try not to be too affected by it as well. It is, yeah, difficult. It is difficult.
And you obviously went on to do one of the, well, probably one of the most difficult jobs, obviously, in being armed response officer. Am I right in saying that, or have I just made that up?
You didn't make you didn't make it up. Yeah.
I do some research sometimes. I do.
Yeah. gosh, that was way back in 1994. Yeah, so I think I joined at a really good time for women, to be honest. There were so many opportunities that were open, you know, historically prior to that. So yeah, really a great time to join, I felt, and yeah, loads of opportunities, and yeah, joining the ARVs was it became open to women. And yeah, I was the very first mum to join.
Oh,
And I think about the third woman to join the Met ARVs. So yeah, very, very male orientated sort of you know, tough environment, really stressful environment. And yeah, and I got a young son, Ben, who was, I think he was about 3 at the time. Yeah.
he must have been like, my mum is the coolest mum in the playground.
Yeah, he can it's funny, he can actually remember quite a lot of that period, though he was really young.
Yeah.
And he actually remembers, because he was with my I'm jumping sort of a bit ahead, but he was with my mum and dad in the Cotswolds the day I got shot, and he remembers a phone call coming into my mum. And he was really young, so yeah, it's quite impactful on him, really.
Oh, I bet that was. And
yeah,
clearly must have been impactful for like the whole family, especially, you know, you're not planning on going to work to get shot. I know that similar sort of comparisons to us on the infantry. We know that there's a chance when we go out, but you don't expect it.
Yeah,
Must have been a
exactly.
tough day for you as well. Clearly, you got shot.
Yeah, because I'd had a tough few years, really. From 91, I was stabbed in an incident at work, and then 92, caught up in an RA bombing, and then 94, I was shot. So it was kind of a very intense sort of period of time, with all those traumatic incidents, and sort of juggling being a mum. I was a single parent as well, so like it was, yeah, and like rightly so, you don't appreciate it at the time. It's stressful for the people that love you as well, you know,
Of
your
course.
family, and
But
yeah, and mum and dad and
that's
kids, yeah.
a lot of working parts going through that, and obviously back then, not so much as it is now, but obviously mental health is always in the forefront these days. But back then, that would have been on the back burner as well. That would have been, are you cleared to work now? You've been stabbed. Yeah. Let's crack on. Or did they take you to a side and say, do you need fucking a minute?
No, it was completely stressful. We've gone completely the opposite end sort of now. You know, stress back then was sort of a dirty word, really. It was
Yeah.
sign of weakness, you know, and wasn't on the radar. Mental health wasn't even a subject like that was on you talked about. It just wasn't. So yeah, you literally, once I'd physically healed, because I was stabbed 3 times. Once I'd physically healed, yeah, I went back to work.
That's mental. What was the build up to the stabbing? What sort of call out was that? Can I ask?
Yeah, so that was 9th September 1991, and I was driving a van just on sort of normal patrol in September, just a Monday afternoon. I was driving the van with a passenger. My passenger was John, and he was John Davison. He was a sergeant, and he jumped in the van with me, and it was really quiet, and we were just, you know, poodling around. And a call came out, which was really ordinary. It was to a man just causing a disturbance outside one of the shops in Wood Green High Road, so a really busy, you know, shopping area. And I think the shop was called Paradise, if I remember rightly. And yeah, so we weren't far. We were just round the corner. So I drove round, and you know, it should have just been a fairly ordinary call, really. Parked the van outside the shop that had called us, and John he got out of the van, the passenger side, and went into the shop to find out what was going on. And as we drew up, I could see our suspect because it was very sort of distinctive by the description we'd been given. He'd crossed the road. So I jumped out of the van. At this point, another Panda car with Jenny and Zara pulled up behind us. And I just sort of, dodged through the traffic. And it was just busy, loads of shoppers around. A really hot day. So at this point, it was before body armor. So I
was going to ask that. Was it a before you had the stab-proof vests and whatnot?
Yeah, because actually, jumping ahead slightly, our incident ended up with John doing a lot of research and officer safety coming in, batons, quick cuffs, and body armor came in as a result of our incident. So it changed policing.
Yeah. Well, that's not good for you, but obviously good for.
Yeah,
it's mad that an incident like that has to cause that sort of ripple effect. It should have. Well, in my head, it's like, why weren't you wearing body armor?
Yeah, it was just how it was. We were, as women, we were issued with truncheons that were half size of the men. So kind of
well, that's cute.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So and mine was in my locker because they were useless. So yeah, so I just crossed the road and approached this guy, and he got his back to me, and he's a great big guy, well over 6 foot, and I just asked him what he'd been doing politely, something along the lines of that, I don't even think the words had left my mouth, and he swung round, and I was flying through the air, and I was 25, really fit. I did a lot of weights and running, and really solid, and sort of tough, quite a tough, resilient character, really. And I found myself flying through the air and landing on the pavement with searing pain in my stomach. I remember sort of thinking, just because all this happens like so quickly.
Yeah, in a flash.
Absolutely in a flash. So instinctively, I got up off the floor, and I was quite angry, and I moved back towards him. And again, I can't actually explain how quickly this is happening. It's just literally, you just don't even have time to think. You just sort of act instinctively. And I just got back up on my feet, went back towards him. I just got a glimpse of him. So kind of what he was doing, he got a knife, but it was in his clenched fist. So the blade, he was punching with the blade. So I'd been actually punched in the stomach and stabbed at this point. I glimpsed him stabbing and attacking Jenny. He was like in an absolute frenzy. And it turned out he was a psychiatric patient who stopped taking his medication. So he just, completely had sort of this meltdown, really.
Yeah.
Just kind of instinctively tried to stop him attacking Jenny. And then I found myself flying through the air again, backwards, landing on the pavement, and I'd been stabbed twice more. And
it's crazy how your mind has gone. Well, you obviously, when you first got up, you didn't realise you'd been stabbed, but you thought, right, I got to stop him from attacking your oppo. That's admirable in itself, that your first thought was, well, I'm all right, I'm going to go and help. But in reality, you'd been fucking stabbed. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I just knew, I just got this.
It's crazy how your mind and body will react.
Yeah. Yeah. Just literally, it is just sort of instinctive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It happens that quick, you don't have time to think. I just I suppose I've always tried to do the right thing, but there was nothing I could do. He sent me, sorry, my phone's ringing, sorry. So I was on the floor again, and by this time Zara had seen what had happened. I mean, they were incredibly brave because they saw what was happening. I don't think they could believe seeing me flying through the air. So they were incredibly brave to come. To come over and try and deal with him.
All of you in a way, especially back then, as you said, you didn't have any body armor. You had shitty small truncheons, so you were basically unarmed, taking on a
Yeah,
brute with a fucking knife.
Yeah, Zara says, she, bless her, she was only 19 and her probationer, she hadn't been in very long. She says she crossed the road and she's like thinking, what do I do? Do I hit him with my handcuffs?
Yeah.
So yeah, incredibly brave. I was on the floor and I remember just being so confused, and I'd never felt so vulnerable. You know, I was really quite a tough, hard, not hard, but you know, resilient character. And my white shirt went red, and I couldn't understand it. It was just, yeah. First time in my life I felt, you know, terror and just being very vulnerable, really. So at this point, Zara had been stabbed as well.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and John obviously heard what was going on the radio and come out of the shop, cross the road. He got stabbed and managed to, with an off-duty PC, disarm the guy. So it's incredibly brave people, you know, amazing, really. Yeah, and we'd been stabbed 10 times between the four of us within, hard to sort of grasp how long it took, but a couple of minutes at the most. I'd have thought you just lose track. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was lucky. There were sort of members of the public tried to give me first aid and just trying to sort of keep. I remember trying to keep my eyes open and think. I remember thinking of Ben, who's a little boy, and it's funny. John said they just had a little baby, and he said he remembers when he was stabbed being back in a garden with his little girl. It was really, he said it was really, really bizarre how we had the same similar kind of sort of almost.
You go to the happy thoughts, trying to get your mind away from obviously the tragedy my word just failed me. That's going on. I'm not going to keep repeating that word because I'm going to get stuck with it, and then my brother will laugh at me.
See if I could say it. Tragedy.
That's it. See, I have that effect. I always have it. At least one an episode. Tragedy. There we go.
Yeah.
Of what just happened. There you go. I can make light of any situation. So
so can I too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like that old saying that we had when we were serving was before we went on tour, we would have a kill list. And it was like, it's very dark. And I know that a lot of people will be like, that's a fucking dark subject. Basically, the higher up the list you would be if you have more to lose. So when I went to this madness, really, when I went to Kandahar, I was top of the list because I was getting married when I got back, and my eldest daughter was about to be born. And it was like, there was me, and then my mate Dan was underneath because his son was due to be born as well. And it's like, I remember telling me Mrs. She was like, why would you have something like that? And it's like, well, you got to make light of these sort of things. It was like, I've got more to lose. So of course I'm going to be top of the list. If you watch any movie ever, it's always the guy that's got stuff to come home to that's not going to come home. She was like, you can't say things like that. Well, I'm still here, so we're all good. Oh, but yeah, I think you
exactly. And you've got to kind of maintain some kind of humour to get through stuff, haven't you, as well?
Oh, of course,
I think that's key.
I think that those of us that have served in the military and blue light services, I think you have to have that level of sense of humour and darkness to deal with such things. Like you said, you were stabbed 3 times on duty. Do you say you got blown up as well?
Yeah, so after I went back to work, and I was studying for my sergeant's exam, and it was 92. Christmas of 92. Wood Green, we got a recognised coded bomb threat.
Yeah.
From the IRA come in, and it was quite early to do my studying, but I'd got a radio, so I could hear, you know, if anything came out, that I could respond to it. So obviously I did. I ran out with like everybody else into the backyard, and we got into into whatever vehicle we could, and we went down. It would have been High Road again, exactly the same place where I'd been stabbed.
Oh, that's lovely for you.
And
I love that area.
yeah. And we just literally, it was Christmas time, so it was jam-packed with Christmas shoppers, and we just started going in and out of shops, screaming at everybody randomly to get out, because there's, you know, bombs are going to go off. But of course we didn't have any clue where or what or anything.
Yeah. Where, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you got the why, obviously from the
yeah, the why. And yeah, I sort of gone under through this sort of covered walkway by these escalators, and one of them went off in a bin out on the street and blew all the windows in, and I was just sort of again ended up on the floor. I wasn't physically hurt, but you know, it was like
but still, yeah, that's
yeah. And
not something you expect for Christmas.
no, and it was really weird. It almost went quiet. There was pigeons flying and smoke and alarm. It was just a really weird experience. And like, again, I just got up off my feet and started shouting. Obviously, it was chaos by this point. People running everywhere, and just started saying, you know, you got to get out, you got to get out. But it just, I don't know where we were sending them to, because
yeah, just get out of the way.
And then I went back out onto the street, saw a friend of mine, and we kind of looked at each other in horror, like, you know, we were just obviously really shocked. And thankfully we moved up the pavement away from another bin, which we weren't aware of, and another bomb went off in that where we'd been stood. So we were just really lucky. But it was just, although not physically hurt, it was just really traumatic again after
I bet it
so soon after you know, the stabbing. And so yeah, we just carried on doing that. I lost track of time, and yeah, it was just another sort of layer on top of, you know, almost from before, really, you know. And again, you just went home. I carried on studying, being a mum, and just
there's so many people. If I had like a vast audience, they'd be like, so you just carried on and went home and started studying and being a mum, and you've been stabbed and blown up within a couple of years. You must. A lot of like civilians would be like, what? They can't comprehend it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose because I was quite a resilient person. I'd been brought up like that. Mum and dad were like that, and it was my job, you know. It was my income. It was my job. I think back then you sort of joined for the whole, you know, it was like a career, and mental health wasn't a subject, you know.
I totally get that. That. I remember when I was going through my therapy, and I was describing rocket attacks and confirming on an IED, and having to, as I said before, put in my mind that I'm going out on patrol today, I might not come back, and having that in my head. I just remember seeing the therapist's face. He was like, that's not normal. And I was like, yeah, but to me that was normal. I had to deal with that, otherwise I would have been a mess. Like, you have to, you're sort of trained that way throughout basic training, that, well, when you're in the infantry, you're trained to be, you're a killer. That's your job. If you're doing anything, you got to kill the target. You got to kill this. You got to do this.
Yeah.
So that's my head. And it's not until I left, and I left all the military stuff behind, it was when I was like, oh, now what do I do? That's when all my sort of problems came into place. Was what now? What? I don't know how to be a civilian, because I've been doing this since I was at 20 years old. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, that's just so, like, that could be me talking, obviously a different scenario, but yeah, you do. It's when it's when you leave, and you lose your identity, your purpose. And for me, again, we're sort of jumping on ahead to me leaving.
No, it's fine. Go wherever we want. We can circle around if we want.
Yeah, that was after the shooting, which I'll come back and talk about if you'd like. But Yeah, I remember, especially as a woman, like, you know, I can shoot a gun, I can drive cars fast. You know, I was an advanced driver. I was a self-defense instructor. I got, you know, all these qualifications, and like, but like, where do you fit
It's
in
strange, isn't it?
society?
Because it's very similar to yourself there with the driving. Well, not so much for the driving with me, but especially with the weapon systems and being advanced rifleman, etc., etc. It's what can I do when I leave? That doesn't transfer into civilian life. And funnily enough, I did actually go for a job with Kent Police, but as a firearms instructor. I went down to get it, and the funniest thing was I didn't get the job in the end, because it was easier for them to get someone who was already qualified as a teacher to teach them how to fire a weapon than it was to get someone who's fired many weapons to become a teacher. And
Yeah,
I was like, well, that's bizarre to me, but I can also see that logic, because I would have to go off and do courses on lesson structures and bullshit like that. But yeah, I remember one of the questions they asked me in the interview. They went, "How would you feel if you were helping out with the firearms lessons, and the instructors got a call out and they had to go and help and do that? Would you be all right just standing and just carrying on with the rifles?" I was like, "Well, obviously." I was like, I'd be doing something fucking brilliant. I'd get all the weapons out and start cleaning them or something. It's like I don't miss it. I'm not fucking action man. I'm not like addicted to adrenaline or anything like that.
yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get that job. But it's a shame, because I would have loved to have done that.
Yeah. I know. I guess it's sent you on a different path, I
It
guess.
did. It
Not
did.
getting
Yeah,
it.
it did.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's, I think there's now, again, I'm jumping all over the place, but I think it's, you know, when I left, there's no social media, no support network, nothing, you know, you just literally, that was it. You were gone, and pretty much that was it on your own. And but I think thankfully there's so much more, you know, in place. I know it could be better, but there are so many.
That's like anything. It could be better.
Yeah, but it has improved from, you know, that angle. And yeah, I could go. Shall I talk about the shooting? Shall I go
Oh
back to that?
yes, let's get on.
That
Let's
came
get on
about.
that. Let's get on the shooting.
Yeah. So
Let's start with the call.
yeah. So it was Boxing Day '94,
Oh
and we were
fucking another Christmas.
another Christmas
You're not allowed
ruin.
Christmas. You're not allowed to go on Christmas
No,
anymore.
I don't like Christmas much anymore. Yeah, and we were due to go off at 2 o'clock, and we were back at the firearms base, just ready to clock off. So
Oh, that's
and
even
then
worse.
yeah, it is even worse, because I wanted to go home.
Well, it's Boxing Day. It's party time.
Yeah. So Ben was with my mum and dad. I'd left him there, and yeah, my friend was due to come around and have some lunch with me when I got home. So I was just in my head. That's where I was. I was, you know, and this call came out. So we made our way, and basically what it was, the local police had in North London. It wasn't Wood Green High Road again, thank goodness. It had been called to this guy. He'd abducted his baby daughter in a pushchair from his estranged girlfriend, and she'd seen a gun, and he'd got a history of firearms, you know, offences. So that's what we were going to just go and help them. So we turn up, and my friend Nick and I, we were tasked with going around to the address where we thought he was barricaded in. We put some civilian jackets on. I put this ski jacket over that I borrowed from somebody at the local police station, and Nick had got just to go over our uniform, really. And then me and Nick went and had a look at the flat, the stairwell. We went, you know, we crept in really quietly because we were on our own. It was obviously quite vulnerable, and had a look at the doorway, you know, the locks, the, you know, the whole layout of the. So the idea, the plan in our heads was going to be that we'd all go round en masse and hopefully get him to come out with the baby, and everything would be, you know, resolved peacefully and safely. That was kind of the master plan. So we did that. Nick made it. He was more experienced than me. He made a sketch plan of the area, and I remember on the way back to where all the cars were at the rendezvous point, where the street, sort of probably a quarter of a mile away from the flat where everybody was. We made our way back in a vehicle, and we saw somebody matching a description, and we stopped him on our own. We didn't draw our weapons or anything. We did just a gentle sort of stop on him, and it turned out he was just an off-duty fireman. It was the wrong guy.
Yeah.
So then we carried on, got back to the street where all the ARV vehicles were parked up. The one that I'd arrived in, an ambulance had turned up, you know, which was pretty standard, you know. So we were just all forming up, really. As we pulled in and got out of the vehicle, again, this happened so fast, and it's just so hard to sort of do this justice in words, because it's just absolute. It went from this sort of calmness, you know, to just complete chaos, and, you know, absolute utter sort of terror, really. I remember feeling, I don't mind admitting it, you know, terrified inside.
Yeah, of course.
I heard when with the baby in the pushchair, and not quite sure whether he was looking for us or what, but he'd found us, and so we just instinctively just started moving towards him. He's a few feet away from me now, and Nick, who I'd gone round to the flat with, was sort of, because the way he'd got out the driver's side, he was slightly ahead of me, to my right. And I just remember seeing this guy. He was wearing a sheepskin coat, and suddenly see this gun come out of the coat, and he put it in his mouth. And your brain just doesn't have time to process. It's just literally like a blink of an eye this happened. So you just see, I started sort of going for my gun, but then the gun comes out of his mouth and stretched arm, and he fires a shot. And hit me, and I just knew instantly that I'd been shot by the impact, not the pain.
Yeah.
It was just like being sort of run over by a bus, really. And I just collapsed on one knee on the ground, and everything sort of stopped. All I really remember, I just remember one shot, smoke, and then kind of nothing else. I just must have just everything just shut off, I think.
All the sensors just went.
Yeah, and all my colleagues around opened fire. I think he was hit about 8 times, I think, something like that. But I can't remember hearing any of this. This is just stuff I've been told, you know. And and then I think I was aware of it, that all calming down, and I think I've been told, again, I don't remember this, somebody dragged me around behind one of the police cars. I can't remember that at all, out of danger, and
completely shut off. Yeah,
and then I think once I knew it was kind of safe, then the pain kicked in, and
yeah, it's so your body went, oh, you're all right now. Here's all the pain. Enjoy that.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, and I've been shot, and I mean, I'm incredibly lucky because I hadn't had time to put my body armor on. Nor had Nick. We just literally turned up, and it just went chaotic. But yeah, it's just every ounce of me like wanted to run away. You know, it was terrifying, but because you don't, you just do what you've got to do. But yeah, it was pretty awful, really. And I was on the floor. They just, the medics and everything just started like cutting off my uniform, and I remember like seeing, I've been hit in the knee. I remember just seeing like a hole in my knee, and being in a lot of pain and very cold and shaking. I was probably in shock by now. And I remember a friend of mine. He crossed the road. He was unarmed, and he looked down at me, and Richard, and he went, "Oh no, not you again," because he knew me. We worked together in Wood Green, and that sort of humour. It's like, oh, no,
You again.
yeah. So yeah, that was it. I went off to hospital and got operated on, and I was really incredibly lucky. It sort of went in the front of my knee, went round the side, and came out the back. So with all these incidents, I genuinely feel, I was really lucky not to have been killed or more badly physically injured, really. Yeah, and that was the last day I worked, and I was off sick for a long time, and
understandable.
Yeah, and didn't go back, and was eventually diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder much later on, which was quite unusual then. It wasn't really anything that we'd sort of heard of, So
so that sort of came about during sort of Iraq and Afghanistan. There was more talking about PTSD and things like that, and I feel that a lot of it got monopolized by the military. It was like, no, we're the only ones that are allowed it. We go away into the desert, and it's like, well, no, the fucking police force are fighting gangs and all sorts within local communities, so you can't just have the monopoly on it. Which is obviously true, and a lot of people know that now. But yeah, it seemed like it was, though, if you were a police officer or a fireman or a paramedic, it's like, well, no, you don't get it. What are you on about? When in fact you probably see more trauma than anybody else. Well, case in point, you probably see more action than a lot of infantrymen, especially 1,000 times more than what I've seen, and I was fucked up when I came back.
Yeah, and to an extent, you have got to be reasonably resilient, haven't you?
Yeah, of course.
So,
and as we said a bit earlier, it's as though when you stopped is when it all sort of, it's when you stop, it's when your mind stops, that it's like, you've relaxed now, have some memories.
Yeah, exactly. You sort of live on this sort of treadmill, don't you? Of just doing what, I was quite a proud person, and so it was difficult. Going, like we said earlier, you lose your identity, don't you? And then you're stuck. But I trained a lot. Physical exercise was like my coping strategy.
Yeah,
and
that's the same with a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
Or it should be. That's another thing, that you should build your mind up as though you're building the rest of your body up. You're all one organism. I said that word right.
You did.
I'm proud of myself for that one.
I'm proud of you too.
But yeah, you should. The amount of mental benefit you get from just training as well, because I used to say it when I used to take my I used to take a class called Park Fit. It's a bit like a military style boot camp style training, and I used to say to him, "You will hate me for an hour." I went, "But by the end of it, you'll thank me and you'll feel better." And that happened every session. They would see me turn up and then be like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, this guy's taking us again." because I would deliberately make it hard because I know the benefits of when you work out hard and you train hard. It fucking sucks the whole time that you're doing it.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, you're like, I'm so glad I went to the gym today, or I'm glad. Like, I hate running, but if I go for a run, by the end of it, I'm like, I'm actually glad I went for that run, even though I hate it because I'm too fat and heavy to run. But it's got to be done.
Oh, totally. And that was my thing. You know, I did it and did loads of crazy challenges and.
Well, you're world record holder, aren't you?
Well, that was much later on. So yeah, so I literally left, was medically discharged, and just had couple more kids, and just did bits of jobs to fit around them, you know, and never ever spoke about what happened to me. I just and I think I've coped reasonably well with it all. I just, you know, it wasn't. I could never kind of put it across to anybody who hadn't been there and done it, you know, what it was like. So I just, you know, had it within me. And then
it's always good to have those sort of connections still, like a little community, you could say, of like-minded people. Like, I'm lucky that I've got two of my best mates that I actually served with live down the road. So if we ever start having moments or we just feeling a bit down or depressed or whatever, we go, do you fancy a beer? And it's like, yeah, let's go have a beer. But yeah, sorry, I'm butting in.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry, because that's so important, because there was nothing like that. Literally, you know, you were gone, and there was, like I said earlier, no social media, no support networks. It was really like, just nothing like that. So I had none of that. And it was much later on when Ben, it was 2019, I got a phone call off Ben, my eldest son, to say, Mum, I'm part of this world record deadlifting team of veterans and different, mainly veterans. Going to do a charity fundraiser for Rock to Recovery, and somebody's dropped out. Do you want to join the team? And I was 53, so we've gone like way, you know, long time since I was injured, and madly I said yeah, and then like finished the phone call and thought, I think I know what a deadlift is. So the 12 of us, we deadlifted it. 60 kilos for 24 hours for Rock to Recovery.
Good cause.
And raised I think over £5,000 for them, and awesome. It was just and Ben did it as well, and my youngest son came along and helped. It was just an amazing thing to be part of, and I was full of my usual self-doubt, you know. I was like, too old, I can't do it, and it was just an amazing experience to get through. It was really, really tough, but just amazing. And that led me to start seeing Nick Goldsmith and Hidden Valley Bushcraft on my Instagram page.
Oh yeah.
Another veteran who'd struggled with his mental health. I started following him, and he got this bit of woodland, and that kind of saved him. And he was advertising for people to go along and do a weekend down in the woods with him. And I thought, I can't apply for that. I'm okay, you know. There's much worse people off than me, you know.
And I had the narrative. That's always the narrative.
It's always a narrative, isn't it? Now I know that, but I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
And it took me a fair few weeks to send the email, and I thought, they'll just say no. We've got like really badly injured people and what, but you know, and of course they didn't, did they? And I went down there for weekends and had the Woodland Warrior weekend. Just had an amazing experience with Nick, and it was him who said, you need to start telling your story. It's amazing. And I'd almost forgotten it, if that makes sense. Because I just didn't talk about it. It was just my ordinary story that I felt lucky I'd survived, you know. And it was just that simple as that, really. So I started doing a few podcasts, and
that's always a funny one, isn't it? When someone said, like, a bit like how I've come out to you and said, do you fancy coming on the show? When I first started and I was getting people on as guests, they were like, "Well, who wants to hear me tell a story?" It's like you'd be
Yeah,
surprised how many people want to hear just regular people stories. It's not we're not all podcasts are Joe Rogan level where they're getting fucking blue tick brigade, as I call them, on their shows. It's like it's not always like that. You get the best stories come from local people, I think, and inverted commas normal people.
I agree, and that's what we are, isn't it? And that's what I was, and I'd like to think somewhere along the line, by talking about where it's led me, where we're going, like it'll maybe somebody will listen to this and contact somebody, or that feeling that you're not alone. But yeah, I started, and me and Nick did a recording for BBC Southwest, in the woods, and I shared my story, and Nick spoke about his journey and how it had helped him in the woods and what he was doing at Hidden Valley Bushcraft, and I mean he's doing amazing things with veterans and all the emergency services, key workers in the COVID. He was helping him and his wife Louise, because she was a police officer, and mate, they're amazing. And then from that interview, somebody who's a good friend of mine now, Damon Isherwood, saw it and contacted me from the Curtis Palmer program, and it's a charity that I'm ambassador for Hidden Valley Bush.
Nice.
And I'm ambassador for the Curtis Palmer program, and he's doing amazing work with police officers and veterans. I went out to Norway with them on an expedition recently, and it's just doing an incredible job. And it's like this 360 approach, taking on people who are suffering, and then like my friend Brian, he's now become a mountain leader, so he's now actually part of the team now.
I love that. I love how journeys can form, and it starts with the catalyst of one person saying, right, I'm gonna take the plunge here. I'm gonna go live in the bush for a bit. Do you want to come and have a chat? Yeah. Do you want to come and have it? You should come too. And then it just fucking
grows exactly, and not feeling that you're isolated and alone, and then helping other people helps you.
The biggest one that I always strive to talk about is the fact that everybody is different. So it doesn't matter if you were RAF regiment like myself, a Met police officer like yourself, or even a paramedic, or just even down to my missus. We all have mental health struggles, and as I said, nobody has the monopoly on mental health. Like my missus went through a lot of depression while I was serving because I wasn't in the country. I left to serve my country, which was always my dream, and I was, you could say it was selfish at the time, when it's not selfish in terms of I'm trying to fight for my country, but it is selfish on the fact that I've put myself in that position where I've got a wife and kid at home. And when you're out there, you don't think, oh, how is she coping while I'm away? How's Jess doing? Is she growing up okay? Because I've got to focus on what the lads are doing out on the ground, what I've got to do. And I was always in the mindset of a distracted soldier is a dead soldier, which is, if I've got problems at home, I can't think about the problems at home, because I could go out on the ground and think about what's going on at home and miss a target indication, or something, that a bit of ground sign that there's an IED there, and then one of the lads steps into it, and that's my fault because and it's mad. It's mad to think. And then, but obviously she went through a lot of, I did 3 tours. I went to Iraq and Afghanistan twice. And I now say to her, it wasn't just me that went, you went as well.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about the spouses, whether it's a husband or a wife. And even down to the kids as well.
And the children,
I was, I say lucky in some aspect, that when I went for my 3rd and final tour, Jess was would have been a year and a half, maybe. Basically, she left. I left when she was a baby, and I came back, and she was a full-grown toddler. But she had no idea who I was, so I always sort of joke about when I was at home. Like bath time was mine and her thing. I would do bath time. I would sing Ed Sheeran songs badly. She would laugh at me. I'd wash her hair, get her ready for bed, blah blah blah. When I came back from tour, she didn't want anything to do with Daddy. She didn't know who Daddy was because he wasn't there. It was Mummy, 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 and that sort of stuck up until probably the last few years, where she's now sort of becoming more of a daddy's girl, where she'll come out and go, Dad, do you mind brushing my hair? And stupid things like that. And it's like, for me, that's a huge thing, because for so many years, because I was struggling with my mental health, that I didn't realize I was struggling. I was very distant. I was very snappy, and I was a horrible person to be around, really, in some aspects. I lost a huge part, where my youngest was always, she didn't see that side of me, the military side. She was born afterwards, when I came out. So I had a bit more of a connection with the little one, but now with the big one, it's that daddy daughter connection's back, which is fucking lovely.
Yeah, that is lovely.
But yeah, I went on a hell of a rant, man.
No, that wasn't a rant. God, no, not at all. It's so important. It affects us all, and you're right. Nobody has a monopoly on it all, and I think that's, getting involved with the Curtis Palmer program. We call him Ish, Damien, but we call him Ish. He's ex-military, and the work he's doing is incredible. And as I say, we've just been out to Norway, and funnily enough, well, not funnily enough, we were on top of the mountains, and I had a slip on the second morning, and I broke my arm badly.
Oh, fucking hell. You have no luck, you.
I know. Yeah. So it's such an amazing group, mixed group of, they carried my rucksack, and we had an army medic with us, and he put a splint on my arm. We had to walk 12 miles off the mountain and to get off, but they're an amazing group. And Ish took Ben Parkinson out, who's the most injured veteran from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And he was doing the canoeing phase with a police officer called Matt, who had a terrible head injury and wasn't expected to live. And it's just an amazing experience for them. Although I missed out on that bit because I was in hospital. But
wimp.
I know. But yeah, and then also Ish, he recognised the importance of the breath work, and he's done so much work with a guy called Sam Murray from Breath Connection, who's a former Royal Marine. And from Ish's idea,
he loves a cold plunge, and he loves a cold.
He does, yeah. And I knew Sam, and I put Ish and Sam in contact. So this was 2020. It's just with the support from the Curtis Palmer program, it's just bloomed. And Sam's now working with Miranda, and they came out to Norway with us actually, and did breath work every day out in Norway. And
he looks like he should be with that. What's his name? Is it Hoffman?
Wim Hof.
Yeah, they should be together.
Yeah.
Just in the coldness, wearing nothing, because that's what Marines do. They just wear pants. Apparently.
That's it. Yeah. But it's amazing how Curtis Palmer funded, these online breathing courses that I've been on, and the cold. It's been so successful, and it's snowballing within the emergency services, and so just
it's great that a lot of causes now are sort of combining together, as you said, that they're combining with the ones that you're ambassadors for, because Rock to Recovery as well, that a lot of people think that was just a military one, but that's blue light services as well. And I love the fact that it's not just, like, for example, Help for Heroes is military, and it's like, I like the fact that there's ones that will do all sorts, and it doesn't matter on the cat badge. It doesn't matter if it's Met Police or
Yeah.
you know, Surrey Police, or even a
Absolutely.
paramedic in
Yeah.
Cornwall. They're all,
Yeah.
look at my geographical knowledge there, just pulling out different places.
Hey,
Look at
I'm impressed. 'Cause
that.
I'm well impressed. Yeah, because we did I forgot about this. We did another world record last year. It was the same group
As you
with a
do,
few.
just forget about the world records that you hold. It's fine.
we so it was for the team lifting the stress for mental health again, with a guy called Colin Kelly. So a lot of veterans and emergency services, 12 of us, me and Ben again, and we went down to pushed a prowler sled.
Oh,
a
I did
50
see. Yeah, I did see while
yeah
I was stalking through your social
yeah
media. I was
so
like,
we
fucking
pushed.
pushing a sled as well.
Yeah, we did that 150 kilo sled between the 12 of us for 24 hours. But the reason than that was we raised money
Mm.
again for Rock to Recovery, and that went to Breast Connection,
Oh, nice.
and some money went to Hidden Valley Bushcraft. And yeah, so the reason I mentioned that is just that, like you said, there were all these good people from their bad experiences sort of doing amazing things. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I love it. This is the reason why I did well, I'm now running the third event. So originally I did I started a football team, and it's FC Granite Zero, as most people know. And we raised money for Rock to Recovery. The first match we played Spurs Legends, and then we did a joint charity match last year with Sands United. They're the neonatal deaf society. And then this next one we're doing in May, we're playing a team from Hereford, and we're doing it for Rock to Recovery and Pilgrims Bandits, which are two fantastic fucking charities. They're fucking brilliant. But yeah, there's something about giving back to others that I enjoy. As much stress as it causes me to set up these events, the relief afterwards, saying that we've raised, I think in the two events we've done, I think we've gone, I think it's about 3,500, I think, roughly, over the two. So hopefully we get a good turnout for this next one, and raise even more money for these causes, because I just think the amount of work that they do giving back to others, you know, more people should give to help them to give to. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
If you're able enough, even if you're not able enough, you should think about, well, you should be more selfless. There's a lot of selfish people in the world, and being more selfless and helping others, you know, you get so much gratitude out of it.
It's a
But then,
healing process, isn't it? Helping
yeah, yeah,
others as well, for yourself, yourself. It's
of
that
course.
full circle thing, isn't it? In like you said, that selflessness. I mean, I'll go back to Ish. He's juggling it with his full-time job as a police officer, running the
That's
charity
another thing that people forget. A lot of
and
these
the work.
causes and
Yeah,
charities, the people that are running it have full-time jobs while they're doing it.
yeah. He worked, and doesn't they don't it doesn't cost, the money that gets donated goes to help people. They're climbing Snowdon this weekend with a group for a retired police officer who's got cancer. Just the work that goes on behind the scenes is insane.
Yeah,
But this selflessness to help others is incredible. And I think it's just important to raise the awareness that there's people like Curtis Palmer program. They're on Facebook. So is Breath Connection. So is Hidden Valley Bushcraft. There are groups out there.
I'll stick all of those in the bio description as well.
Oh, thanks, Sean. Because I didn't know about any of them, and
which
you
is
don't have to.
yeah, which is great with the new age of the social media. What you
Yeah,
find, because
exactly.
I wish that I found Rock to Recovery when I was at my lowest, because I didn't even hear about Rock to Recovery until I started the podcast. Because I went through the big charities, you could say, Help for Heroes. I'm going to name them. I don't give a shit. Help for Heroes, even down to the British Legion, and the RAF Benevolent Fund, and everyone said that they would send out a caseworker, because I've been through therapy and been signed off by the doctors with depression and anxiety, and the therapist said that there's definitely a hint of PTSD. So I thought, well, I'll go and see these charities, see if they can help in any way, whether it's funding a bit more therapy or whatnot. And it's now 5 years. This will be the 5th year of the podcast, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, I'm still waiting for those caseworkers. They never arrived. So I was like, well, if they're not going to help me, then I'll have to help myself. Which, you know, I'm going to be a bit big-headed, all power to myself. I managed to get myself out of the rut that I was in, different courses. I wanted to expand my knowledge on different mental health types. And it wasn't until I was chatting with Alex Smith, or Smudge, who ran Red Coat Apparel. He mentioned Rock to Recovery, and Dave Radband has mentioned Rock to Recovery before, and a few others. And I was like, well, who are they? And I found them, and I was like, fucking hell, what a fucking, and how quick they are at helping others that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why I was like, no, that's the cause that I want to help.
Yeah, they helped me after the deadlifting, and I know they helped Sam from Breath Connection. He won't mind me saying, I think he attempted suicide a number of times, and that they were instrumental in saving his life, turning his life around. And and then you've got amazing people like Ish, who sort of identify. You've got a good guy there with an amazing idea and supporting him financially, and it's just this full circle approach, 360 approach of like supporting and helping good people and from their adversity. And like you said, our mental health struggles, we can all do so much good, can't we, Sean?
Oh, definitely. And I've had a few people in the past say, well, what do you know to give this sort of advice out and things like that? It's like, well, I know from my experience. So if you can't take lessons from other people's experiences, then you're never going to know and understand what you could do to help yourself. And it's that old saying, the old teacher saying, is it, those who can teach. And you don't need all these fancy degrees if you've been through it personally.
Yeah, I know. And it's like when I did this arm, it's quite traumatic, really. And I think as you get older, you perhaps don't cope quite so well. And I had a plate fitted, and it got me down. It really got me down, because I couldn't train. That's my coping mechanism. And and the guys were great, like Brian from Curtis Palmer program would message me, and Gary, one of the other CEOs, he'd send me messages, and Ish came and supported me. And it's just knowing that there's good people, and good friends like locally as well help me. But I think, it's funny, as you get on, I've thought about this quite a lot. I've got a bit softer as I've got older.
Yeah.
I cry more, and I think back to the things that happened. I didn't cry when I was shot, didn't cry when I was stabbed. I just, and now it's just like,
even now I'm at the ripe old age of 36. I'm a lot softer than I was when I was in my 20s. Like, even down to the point, it's like, well, I'm not going to cry. Ugh, who cries? I'm not going to cry.
Yeah.
I literally was. I'll even go to Christmas, and my daughter. It's not even It's not an expensive present. It's not a fucking huge present at all. She's got me this little It's like a little band, but inside there's it's a tiny little gem on it, but you can look through it, and there's a picture of me and her when I got back from Afghanistan.
Oh.
But I didn't know she was doing it, and she gave it to me on Christmas Day, and I looked through it, and I was blubbering like a baby, and she was like,
I bet you were.
and then she started crying, which made it all worse. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
don't look at me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how you say you get softer, but for me, it's other things as well. Like, this is quite funny. So the other day, so as I mentioned, I've always had quite a short temper, and when I was going through my struggles, I was very even more snappier than normal. So if the eldest did something, dropping a fork on the floor or something, I would snap, and they'd be like, "Why are you doing that?" and getting angry. Well, the other day, she threw a grape at my head, right? Just jokingly, she threw a grape, bounced off my head, but as I did it, I was drinking. I was being a baby. I was drinking some chocolate milk, and I smacked my tooth on the chocolate milk, which then made me laugh, which then made me spit all the chocolate milk out. And yeah, we literally just giggled for a good 5-10 minutes. My wife was laughing, the eldest was laughing, I was laughing, and she went, "Do you know, previously you wouldn't have found that funny. You
Yeah.
would have been angry and stormed off or something." I was like, "Yeah, perhaps I am getting softer and growing up a little bit." It's yeah.
Oh,
But then I even down to music now, certain music will set me off where I'll feel like not sad, but like I will remember and reminisce, and then I'll be like a little bit lumpy throated. There's a
yeah.
song, and funny enough, I'm sort of dressed like him today, but there's a song by Luke Combs, and it's about when his dad went away on tour, and I was listening to it, and I got transported back to when my wife and daughter were waving bye to me as I was leaving to go to Briars Norton. I was like, fucking hell, it's mad how songs can transport you back, but also it will help you recover as well. It doesn't just it well for me, it doesn't set off a trigger or anything like that. But yeah, I was like, oh, if I listen to this song anymore, I might have a little tear in my eye.
Yeah. And that's not a bad thing, is it? You know,
No, it's
this,
not.
yeah, crying and just coming to terms with stuff and not brushing it under the carpet, really, which I think I did for a long,
Yeah,
long time.
too long. I know exactly how you
So,
feel. Like
yeah,
it's like I feel a bit down. We'll put that away somewhere.
yeah, go and trash yourself on a run or something, or in the gym, and that'll make you feel better temporarily.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's sort of still all in there. So it's just amazing. I love it that there's so many good people out there doing their bit together and making a huge difference. I just think it's wonderful, really.
Yeah, I think you should take a moment and pat yourself on the back for that as well, for obviously the fundraising events that you've done, and probably still going to continue to do, and obviously chatting and even shouting out these brilliant charities and causes that you're ambassador for now as well. You know,
That's really what it's not really kind of I don't talk. For me, it's not about me.
no, I know,
It's how we've come. Like just these amazing people, what they're doing,
yeah.
and there wasn't any of that, you know.
I had a very similar sort of moment when basically when the final whistle went on my last charity event. A few of the lads came up to me and was like, "Well done, mate. You put on a real." I was like, "But it's not about me. It's not." I went, "Yeah, I helped put on this event, but the event is for Rock to Recovery and Sands." I was like, "Yeah, I'll sort of take the." I was like, "Yeah, cheers. Just leave me a minute." Because yeah, funnily enough, I cried at the end of that game as well. I was like, "Fucking hell." All the stress of organising it just got
Oh,
released. But yeah, I was like, no, it's not about me. It's not thanking me for organising it. It's thanking Rock to Recovery for what they do. This is my thanks to those two charities, basically, or causes,
but
should I say?
and it's going full circle again, isn't it? You're helping, which is healing for you as well. You know, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
you're not doing the thanks or anything, but it's that healing process of doing some good, isn't it? In the big grander scheme of
yeah,
things,
yeah,
is,
definitely.
you know, connecting and raising a bit of money and just doing your little bit to.
Yeah, doing a little bit, especially in today's climate. I know it's difficult for people to give, um, because obviously everything's fucking so expensive. Um, but when people do give to causes like the ones you've mentioned and Rock to Recovery, it's what they give back as well, like helping homeless veterans and whatnot, putting a roof over someone else's head. You know, a lot of people say they do a lot, but actually don't.
Yeah, and that's very true. That's sort of the Blue Light Card Foundation as well. That they've done
Oh yeah,
amazing.
brilliant.
I must mention them. They've given funding to Curtis Palmer program, to the Breath Connection and Hidden Valley Bushcraft. So that without their money, there wouldn't be so many people being helped. So that they're really important as well.
Oh, definitely. Well, I for one, I'm glad that you found these things to help you out. Obviously, leaving the police force after those events as well, that could have taken a hell of a downward spiral, you could say. So it is positive that you found all these different connections, and obviously you've got your kids keeping you on the right track as well. Because they're my light in the house. Those two little nuggets that I've got, they're the reasons why I'm still here.
That's yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, good, and I'm glad. I'm glad you're still here.
Well, world would be a sadder place without Tommo in it. I'm telling you, no
It
part,
would.
no Tommo, no party is what they say. Have you got any future plans in terms of fundraising? You got anything in the pipeline? Are you going to break another world record?
Well, I don't know whether the guys who do all the hard work organising these events and getting the evidence to get it through Guinness World Records is whether they think up something crazy, and it's whether I'm capable of doing it. I don't know. I'll see what they come up with and when it is and how old I am, and I'd like to, but they are tough. The last one, like.
Oh, I bet.
I don't think I've ever quite recovered from, to be honest. But
you should
yeah.
get a group of like-minded, strong females like yourself, and then I don't know, canoe to Ireland or something crazy like that, and then be all feminist and power to the women.
Yeah. You never know what's around the corner. What might
Exactly.
come up? Maybe
I've just ignited something there.
From this podcast. Yeah. Oh no, it's just getting older. It just I'm not quite as physically robust. I know that, but yeah, I'd like to think maybe I've got another.
Yeah, before we put an end, my father-in-law is very similar. So he's what, 20 years older than me. So yeah, he's 56, and he plays in all the charity football matches that I put on. He plays in it, and he always says, he goes, "Are you doing another one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be doing another one." He went, "Well, I'll play in that one. I don't know how much time I've got left to be able to do it." He's like, he's probably the most physically fit player we've got, and he's one of the eldest players that we got.
That's fantastic.
Because he's very, very similar to yourself, where he's like, well, no, I've got to keep fit.
Yeah.
And he does. He puts a lot of hard work and effort in. To be fair to him, I look at him and I'm like, you're fucking beyond fitter than I am, and I'm 20 years younger than you. It's disgusting. But yeah, he's like, I'll do one more. I'll do one more. I think he's a bit upset with me last time because I put him on the bench last time, but he wasn't happy.
I'm sure he wasn't.
Well, in the game against Spurs that we played, he got man of the match. So he's like, "Well, how can you drop me for the next one if I got man of the match?" I'm like, "Well, it's my master plan." But yeah, he's sound. But yeah, I just want to quickly close up and just say I really appreciate you giving me your time on a Thursday. It's Thursday, isn't it? On a Thursday, because not many people are off on a Thursday afternoon. But I'm glad that you've given me an hour and a bit of your time to tell me your story and what's going on in the world.
It's lovely to talk to you. It's been really lovely, and between us, maybe we can, get it out there. Who's, what people are out there that can help them, and maybe we'll just make a difference to somebody. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? From our conversation.
Yeah,
really, really lovely to talk to you, and
definitely.
I know you sort of understand where I'm coming from, which is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, again, it's been my honor and my privilege to have you on, and we'll have to catch up again soon.
I'd love that. It's been really nice to talk to you, Tommo.
Yeah, definitely. All right, you enjoy the rest of your afternoon and the
Yeah,
rest of your
you
Thursday,
too.
and I'll
Take
speak to you
care.
soon. I'll let you know when this comes out.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Speak to you
Take
soon.
care. Bye.
Cheers. Hello. You're at the adverts, so don't turn off. Don't turn off because I've got some good stuff for you. First up, I'm going to talk about our sponsors. Kent CBD is our first sponsor. Now, CBD oil, as you know, has tremendous benefits, especially within mental health and physical health. Personally, I use it to help with my anxiety and my depression, but not only that, I also use it to help with the aches and pains of life in my joints, especially my ankles and my knees. But yeah, without CBD oil, I would have still been on my antidepressant tablets, which I'm no longer on. So, every cloud. And what we're going to do here at Granite Zero is we're going to give you 10% off everything from oil, muscle rub, jellies, bath salts, the lot. Yeah? Make sure you get in there. www.kentcbd.org. Put in the promo code GRANITE0 and get yourself 10% off. You are welcome. But also, if you're like me and you love a nice cup of coffee. Now, for me, I only drink one coffee, and that's Green Beret coffee. Now, I don't only drink it because it's out of this world fucking coffee, roast to order, grinded to whatever specific grind you want. But not only that, it's veteran owned and veteran run, which, hits me right in the feels. So make sure you check it out, Green Beret coffee. Get yourself a nice cup of coffee. I drink it dark, just like my soul. Incredible stuff, incredible stuff. And what I'm going to give for you, I'm going to give you 10% off. So once you get to the checkout, once you've got all your coffee, your products, your apparel, whatever you need, get to the checkout and put in the promo code GZPodcast10 and get yourself 10% off. Courtesy of the Granite Zero podcast. You are welcome. Now that's enough of me talking about this stuff. Back to the regular scheduled show. Check it out!